What insider secrets does the company you work for not want its customers to find out? The USA famous brand MyPillow and its official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation means nothing since the owner created the group. I worked for 2 years at a call center for Cox Cable doing tech support for internet and TV. It's more important for the techs to get you off the phone than to actually resolve your problem. Don't blame the techs, they've got supervisors breathing down their necks, and the supervisors are breathing down their necks because customers complain about being on hold so much. When I was doing it 3 years ago, calls had a limit of 7.5 minutes. 7.5 minutes to take your info, diagnose your problem, give you a solution, and resolve the call, not the problem. If the call goes over 7:30 minutes, a supervisor would come over and ask what was going on. I got in trouble so many times for genuinely trying to help people, it was disgusting. One time I spent a good 30 minutes on the phone with a guy in San Diego who was setting up his internet. He was old, slow, and computer illiterate but really nice and patient, so I did everything I could and eventually got him going. He was thrilled, spoke with my supervisor to tell them how happy he was with me. I got written up for that because I wasted time helping one person when I could have been fake helping many others. I've heard plenty of stories just like this from the other cable companies and the call centers they contract out. Basically, for an inbound call center, the people in charge just care about clearing the calls in the queue, not helping you. No matter what scripted bullshit they make the techs say. And again, don't blame the techs, for this, at least, their hands are tied. Also, cable companies are hemorrhaging television customers and will suck your dick to keep you from cutting television service. Threaten to leave, name Dish Network or something, and they'll shower you with discounts. Don't say I don't watch much TV, but do mention competitors. Keep pressing for more till they outright refuse. Then cut the cord when those discounts end. Edit, let me just clarify that good phone workers can manage to average out their call times, end the easy ones quickly so they have more time for the long ones. Problem is, on the call floor during a call you'll get harassed by supervisors that will tell you to just roll a truck if the call goes too long, regardless of your average call time. The customer is charged for the truck, which may not even help them. It creates undue pressure on these workers, especially on the new ones, and defeats the whole purpose of a helpline. I used to work for IBM. It was well known within IBM that all projects would be significantly understaffed. This meant that the people working on those projects would work their ass off. We were all salaried employees, so we made no more money by working 80 hours per week compared to the normal 40 hours per week. IBM did make more money, however, since most of our projects were billed as time and materials, effectively hourly. When some internal people started complaining about the excessive overtime, IBM offered them the option of becoming an hourly employee. This meant that they no longer had access to healthcare, 401k, etc., but they would be making significantly more money, in some cases more than doubling their previous salary, since they would be getting paid for every hour worked. IBM didn't think many people would choose the hourly option, thinking that their benefits plan was enough to keep people there as salaried employees. Of those that were offered the option, something like 95% chose to become hourly. Every single person that chose the hourly option was fired within 1 month. That meant that some projects that were already understaffed were even more understaffed. Many projects were cancelled or delayed because IBM chose to use these employees as an example of what happens when you complain too loudly. Pizza Hut, we aren't super sanitary, extra cheese comes on a cheese pizza, the $10 coupon code is 2155, if you tell them you are an employee and use the $10 coupon code, you get a large for 8.80. Most of us do not care about discounts, and sometimes tack them on to be nice. Edit, if you really want something cool, ask them to use half toppings, fold and crimp your pan pizza in half before putting it in the oven, and top it with the Parmesan parsley mix. Boom, you now have a pizzone. Also, stuffed crust pan pizzas totally exist for employees. I work for a mortgage company. 2 things. If you're being foreclosed upon and can afford an attorney, fight it. The number of foreclosures that could have been invalidated if the borrower did something, as opposed to not showing up at all, which is what most do, is higher than one would think. If you refinance, sell your house, or pay off your mortgage, get a copy of your lien release, preferably the recorded one. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get where a sale is being held up because a lien release was never prepared. I work at a very large farming company that grows and packages a certain vegetable, hint, Bugs Bunny. The store brand and the private label brand right next to it are from the same field and there is no difference between the product in it. I worked at Subway, which is franchised, so I doubt this is the same for every Subway you visit, but, when the meat is defrosted to be used, we had like 3 days to sell it. After that we'd have to throw it away. The franchise owner and area manager would often intimidate staff into keeping the meat on sale for up to 7 days to cut costs. I reported them to corporate, of course. I worked as a delivery driver for a few pizza places, and while they check to make sure your car has insurance, personal insurance doesn't cover use of cars for business purposes. Essentially, unless drivers are carrying very expensive commercial insurance, they would have no coverage if in an accident. To add to this, one of the nationwide companies I worked for had a policy in place to combat this. If you're in an accident, policy was to remove your car topper and uniform and be off the clock. Used to work at a water park. 9 times out of 10 when the pool is shut down for maintenance or low chlorine levels, it means that someone shat in the pool. The last job I was at was a family-owned steel supplier in the Northeast US. They carried I-beams, angles, flats, tube, pipe, plate and more. They basically did prefab work, cutting product to length. In some cases, mostly government jobs, the customer would specify domestic material only. If they did not have it, they would have us grind off the heat numbers, a code that offers traceability to the plant it was made, down to the composition of material, of foreign material to sell as domestic with doctored mill certs. Shady practice with dire consequences. Edit, I thought I should add that I can only confirm doing this 2 times, maybe a third, but I really tried to block that place out due to the lack of responsibility/ethics of the management. The last few years were really bad. Edit 2, as a lot of people are insisting me to report, I wanted to say that had I known then what I know now, I most certainly would report. This was 10 years ago and I would not be able to tell you the name of the customers or even a close date of when it exactly happened. I know there was a few pieces of square tubing, 4,5 or 6 inch, and some cut I-beams, but the rest of the details are foggy. I recently started working for a cleaning firm. My boss basically said, it doesn't actually have to be clean, it just has to look clean. Edit, yeah. What I meant was it doesn't have to be sanitized, it just has to look clean. English is not my first language, so I didn't realize there was a significant difference. You don't have to get a GED. It's just one type of high school equivalency, but GED is synonymous with that concept, so people don't know there are other options. Pearson likes it that way because they can charge $120 per test, with most of that money going to Pearson. Pearson doesn't want you to know that, depending on availability, you can also take the high set or the task battery of tests for half the price or less. Until a few years ago, before Pearson stepped in, the GED cost $10 to $20 in most places. Edit, not all colleges accept all forms of high school equivalency. And often the high set or task can be almost as expensive as the GED. Unfortunately, it's complicated and you have to do your research. Depending on where you live, you might be screwed either way. Added context because I didn't expect this to blow up. For decades the GED was dirt cheap because people who need a GED are usually broke. And then magically when education giant Pearson showed up, everybody had to charge 10 times as much because one of the easiest ways to get rich in America is to exploit poor people. I worked for a home security company. 2 big secrets. About 90% of the salesmen are lying douchebags that will say anything to get you to sign up and then think they can hold a contract against you. but if you complain enough to the right people, the legal department will cancel your contract outright. The equipment is super cheap despite the fact that they tell you that you are basically paying for the equipment over the length of your contract so that you don't have a huge upfront cost. The parts for an average home with an 8-piece system, panel included, only run about $800 at cost, if that, but it depends on the stuff you get, but you will pay out several thousand over the length of your initial 3 or 5 year contract. Any extensions on top of your initial contract with no new equipment or services is money straight into the pocket of the company. Monitoring ends up costing the company a few cents a day when you break enough systems across enough operators. If peace of mind is worth that to you, then go ahead and sign up. Monitoring service is excellent but the equipment is shit. I work at a big store in the Netherlands and at the end of every advertisement week we have to make sure the shelves are almost empty so it will look like almost everything sold out and the products we sell are popular. In reality we still have a lot in the stock room but this way people will buy it faster because 1, it's on sale, 2, it's almost sold out, 3, it's a popular product, 4, they think the company as a whole is doing a great job. It isn't really a big secret but I thought it's quite funny. Edit, the regular shelves are well stocked, I only meant the shelves that are for the advertised products of that week. Our Chinese manufacturers will be more than willing to supply us with a certificate assuring us and our clients that the cardboard and paper packaging for our new line of electronics is 100% recycled and eco-friendly. 1000% bullshit. Big technology companies providing really slick services, especially where you buy things online, make it look like they really have their shit together. Most of them don't. Their back-end systems are held together by virtual rubber bands and glue and their staff stumble from one fire to another because the management teams never stop trying to develop new features to allow technical debt to be repaid. Their public-facing end is just fancy enough to hide that all from you. This is as true for AWS as it is for Ticketmaster. This is true of academia in general but you have no idea how much money textbook companies spend on wooing professors. Just to give a couple examples, the last time I went to the big conference in my field, which was held in Atlanta that year, Bedford St. Martin rented out the Atlanta Braves stadium, bussed everyone at the conference there, about 2,000 people, gave us a free buffet that stretched through 3 rooms, we were up in the box seats, with an open bar and they opened up all the games in the back hallways for us to play. Pearson's party was far more modest, they rented out the Coke Museum, gave us all free tours and their free buffet only stretched through 1 freaking room, but with much classier food, but still had an open bar. Just in case you were wondering why those textbooks of yours are so expensive. I worked at Best Buy warehouse. One tip, when buying a TV, make sure the staff in store open and check the screen first before you take it out of store, no matter the size of the TV. During busy season like Christmas, Boxing Day or Black Friday we will drop a lot of products during shipping and packing, so yeah. Domino's Pizza Tracker isn't accurate. Employees can enter shit on the computer to make your order to appear at a different stage than it actually is. The horror. Edit, apparently some stores show where the driver is, those are, to my knowledge, pretty accurate. The thing the employees change is the step in the series of steps to make and deliver your pizza. For example, the manager doesn't like the orders sitting on the shelf. The tracker says it's passing quality inspection, sitting on a heated rack. So he will dispatch the order before a driver is there to take it. It makes the store's out the door time more impressive for the owers. One of my Facebook friends interviewed for a teaching position at the school district I work for. She was nervous and awaited the news with 100% more anxiety than she should have. The teacher shortage we have here is so bad we'll pretty much take anyone that's completed their certification, including people that have just obtained it and have never stepped foot in a classroom before. That they farm out their call centers to third-party companies that pay $11 per hour. And they have access to all your account info. The garlic butter we put on our pizza crust is, in fact, garlic margarine. There's no dairy in it at all. I'll get customers calling in every once in a while who ask for soy cheese and no garlic butter, and if I'm feeling nice I'll let them in on the secret they can enjoy that garlic goodness without worrying. Garlic butter just sounds more appetizing than the truth. Editing for clarification/disclaimer, I work for a local pizza joint, not a chain. I deliver. I have nothing to do with making any food whatsoever. I know butter is healthier and that margarine isn't vegan, I don't care. You're ordering a ducking pizza, if health is your main concern you done ducked up already, son. Worked injection molding almost my entire life. My uncle and father build/rebuild molds in a mold repair shop. Almost every mold that has a made in the USA texture somewhere in it will have it removed. A lot of companies do not want their parts saying made in the USA. Their reasoning is if you know it was made here, then you know there is someone to sue. If it's made in some shop in China you're less likely to pursue legal action, whether bogus or justified. I'm a chemist and throughout my education and career I have observed that scientific fraud is widespread and there is little interest in doing anything about it. I seriously doubt the validity of any sort of scientific data because of this. It's so simple to do really. Cherry-picking data can be as simple as just not writing down a number you don't like, or even writing or entering a different number. Anytime there is money involved there is strong push to please those paying the bills. Many times I have been asked subtly or not so subtly to repeat things until the desired result is achieved. No one out and out tells you to fabricate things, but instead it is usually implied that your work is somehow flawed or you must have made a mistake. Do it again. I can look over someone's raw data and usually tell if they are cooking the books or dry libbing, but it is all but impossible to prove. You can also tell by someone's workload. If you are putting in hard 12-hour days and your colleague spends most of his time reading magazines, something is up. Also you could put a full camera crew in front of a lab worker and they could 100% fabricate data and you would never see anything to indicate that they were. It's just so easy. There are legit good ways to detect stuff like this. Things like statistical analysis and blind samples that are independently verified. This is almost never done. Edit, to all the folks asking about climate change. I'm not even going to touch this issue. No comment.